That's the normal thing in traditional Christian churches, is to do it that way. This is not a traditional Christian church, but that's not what the parking ordinance says. The parking ordinance defines a church and other places of worship, church, temple, and other places of worship, as a facility in which people regularly assemble for religious ceremonies. Clearly, this fits that definition. And then, as it relates to the parking regulations, it is churches or other places of worship. And we fit within that ratio, we fit within that, within those definitions, and those ratios should be applied to this church like they are to every other church. Rationale given by staff for applying something else is that the ratio of the sanctuary to the rest of the facility is different. Well, it doesn't say that anywhere in the ordinance. It doesn't say if you have a ratio of X, then you do this. It talks about fixed versus non-fixed seats, but it doesn't make that distinction. Now, in the way the Church of Scientology operates is actually good from a traffic and from a parking standpoint, in that they have a number of classes that they offer throughout the day in a number of different periods of time. We provided all of that information to staff. During the week, they have a morning session, they have an early afternoon session, they have a late afternoon session, and then they have an evening session. And then on Saturday and Sunday, they also have those sessions. The highest demand, based on the existing site and based on other sites throughout the country, is at night and on weekends. It's spread throughout the day, though, and it's not in large numbers. And so because of those facts, it has a very good effect as far as traffic is concerned, relative or versus the property when it was used as an office use, because that demand was very much key to peak hour. A brokerage house, though, a real estate brokerage house, has people coming in all during the day and leaving, but it still is an office type use. The way staff applied the parking ratio to this facility, they required that the Church of Scientology park and be required to park the ratio at 1 per 30 square feet for the sanctuary. Then on top of that, park the classrooms based on a classroom rate of 5 spaces per 1,000. And on top of that, park the office at a ratio of 3 per 1,000, saying that they could treat each individual use as if it's a mixed-use facility. All of those uses relate and are integral to the church itself. They are not separate uses. We don't have the top floor that's leased out to an office for attorneys or doctors. We don't have separate entities. All of it comes together, and all of it relates to the church use. Again, the example of other churches throughout Sandy Springs. The question was raised about setting a bad precedent. You set this precedent and you require this church to meet the required parking for its assembly area, plus all of its classroom space. There's not a church in Sandy Springs, I bet, that meets that requirement. If you require this church to do that, then you're going to have to require other churches to do it. And I don't know about your church, but my church could never meet that requirement because of all the classroom space associated with Sunday schools. And even if they're not full, based on this ratio, you're going to have to comply with that. So what we would like to do is have the additional time to provide parking information based on the facility that's in Dunwoody now that's going to move here. It's a small facility, but it is representative. But they've also opened numerous other facilities in the southeast that we can utilize, and our traffic consultant, Kinley Horn, has offices in various areas, and they can take traffic counts and parking counts. As it relates to the traffic issues raised by Round Hill, I think Mark could address the impact that this will have on a traffic standpoint along Roswell Road. It will be negligible, certainly will be less than if it was office. In terms of their situation, Fulton County and State DOT they were looking at a realignment project to tee up Glen Ridge as it intersects with Rossville Road. They abandoned that. It's too expensive. There are environmental issues associated with the southeast corner of that intersection. I guess it's based on the dry cleaners. I'm not sure. It's either dry cleaners or that gas station. But there is migration of hazardous substances, and so they chose not to do that project. If City of Sandy Springs wishes to do that, then that's fine. They have a bad situation. It's not caused by the Church of Scientology, and it won't be exacerbated by the Church of Scientology. I can go into all the other different issues, but I think that at this point, the main point is that, to my knowledge, there's not ever been another church that's been asked to meet this ratio that we have been asked to meet. We object to that and don't feel like it's appropriate. Don't feel like it complies with the Religious Land Use and Institutionalized Persons Act. We will make those arguments to the city attorney, but regardless of that, just from an equal protection, just a fundamental fairness question, you know, and I know, that you can't set one standard here and set another standard there and apply things differently. What we are willing to do, though, is work with the staff, work with y'all, try to provide you the information you need to make a good decision, and we are happy to do that. Be glad to answer any questions.
Lee,
Yes, sir.
I keep going through this, and nowhere do I really see how many parking spaces are you providing in your application?
There are 82 total spaces. If you do the math on the 82 spaces, then 46 are required if you apply the one space for every 30 square feet of non-fixed seating. Our engineers applied that criteria because they're chairs.
124 parking places is what you're coming up with.
No, sir. There are 82 total spaces on the site. Right. That we after redevelopment of the site, there would be 82 total spaces. There are 46 that would be required if you apply that ratio that we're indicating. The staff has indicated we need to provide 140.
Are you suggesting 46 places is what would be required for a 43,000 square foot building?
Well, what I'm saying is 82 is enough for that, yes, sir. And what I'm suggesting is that we can make, to the extent that the church finds as it grows that there are other or needed additional parking, they can make those arrangements. There's a difference between what the government requires and what may be necessary, and we don't know that. Right now, their highest attendance ever has been 60 people in the facility at any one time. And during a whole week, they've had 100 different people in the facility in a whole week. So that facility is 11,000 square feet. This is 40-something thousand square feet. Do the math. If you multiply those by 4, and you just assume a straight increase and a 4-fold increase in the church, 400% increase, you can meet those parking demands.
During the presentation from the opposition, I heard a number of 600 subscribers or investors or whatever term, I'm not exactly sure what it was. How do you react to that particular representation?
What I react to is the fact that I've been involved in a number of different churches. There's a big difference in the number of people that come and the number of people that are on the rolls. 600 are the number of people that have been active at some point in the last 2-3 years. So it doesn't mean those, as I've indicated,